So hello everyone. This is the second webinar in our series about open journal systems, and we have two speakers for today. For those who are here for the first time, I will just introduce the series of webinars. We had many requests from the community to cover different topics related to OJS, and especially those related to the technical aspects. And then we contacted people from our communities that we are working with, and we identified some interesting use cases, and the series will basically be dedicated to various use cases, to real-life applications of open journal systems, very often in resource-limited areas. Why are we covering this topic? Open journal systems is one of the most, and probably the most common journal management system used all over the world. It's managed and developed by the Public Knowledge Project, which is a non-profit research initiative. And the first release appeared in 2001. It's under the public license, it's free and open source, and it's not that difficult to install and manage. Very often on the available resources, on institutional service, etc. And currently there are more than 50,000 journals using this software. This number is probably higher, but these are identified cases. And I will share the presentation so that you can check all the links. It's very well covered by documentation, and there is a forum for users where they can exchange their experience, which is another attractive thing to potential users. And along with all those recommendations and guidelines and technical guidelines that are available on the PKP website, I also recommend using the EIFL checklist, which is a kind of a short guide pointing to other links and other resources about open journal systems. So we will focus basically on use cases, and we will share different types of experience. So every use case is different. In some cases, people had to deal with organizational issues. In other cases, they had to deal with technical issues. Last time you saw, we spoke about the issue of multilingualism and adding languages, etc. So all these use cases will be different. And we are inviting you, if you have interesting use cases, to contact us, send an email and explain what your case is, what problems you need to solve, which plugins you use. Anything can be interesting for our audience. And along with this invitation, I'm also passing a link to a spreadsheet where we started sharing some useful plugins for OJS. So you will see in the table we can add you can add the name of the plugin and link, and you can also add any comments. If you used any of them, you can add comments relating to your experience. So now today we will have two presentations by Dr. Lighton Phiri about OJS in Zambian journals, and later a more technical one about a tool that's been developed by the University of Zagreb Computer Center, SRCE. And I'll stop sharing, and I would invite Lighton to share his presentation while I'm introducing him. I will say a few words about him. So he's a researcher in data mining and applied artificial intelligence, but he's also passionate about leveraging computer technologies to address real-world challenges in resource-constrained areas in Africa, especially where he is living. And he's also a founding member and principal investigator of the DataLab Research Group at the University of Zambia, and he serves as a technical advisor for the University of Zambia's Directorate of Research, Innovation and Development journals. Over to you, Lighton.
Thank you so much, Mika. Just going to ask if you can hear me just fine, and also if you can see my screen.
Yes.
And I'll just maybe briefly switch on my, not knowing if you can see me. I'm going to briefly just switch on my my webcam so that people can see me, and then I'll switch it back off because I think my connection is a bit bad. So I would much rather conserve the bandwidth here. So again, thank you so very much for extending the invitation. It's an honor, really. And so when the invitation came through, I figured the focus would be on just a minor correction, Milika. No, not really OJS as it relates to instances that have been installed in Zambia per se. I wouldn't really claim to be an authority figure, but really my focus is going to be on OJS as it relates to the University of Zambia journal platform. So I'll briefly introduce the University of journal platform, but it turns out that OJS has been installed in such a way that it helps us manage multiple instances. So presently we have a total of about 15 journals actually on the platform itself. And ideally, my thinking was I was going to focus a lot on the challenges. And as I'm talking about the challenges, I will probably talk about some of the potential solutions that we are leveraging, especially as they relates to the funding we got from EIFL. Okay. All right. So this is going to be my the outline of my presentation. I always like taking advantage of these sort of interactions to do a bit of advertising here. So I think Milka already made mention of the fact that I'm Principal Investigator of the DataLab Research Group at the University of Zambia. Now, the DataLab Research Group has actually been in existence since 2018, a year after I joined the University of Zambia. And what we do actually, well, it comprises of researchers and mostly postgraduate students really that conduct research in three broad areas. So we do research in data mining, digital libraries, and technology-enhanced learning. And as luck would have it, relative to today's discussion, as early as 2018, we actually started looking at the overall research landscape in Zambia as it relates to online visibility of research. So this is just to showcase to you that we've started looking at issues to do with online visibility of scholarly research output a long time ago, actually, 7 years and counting now. And if you go to our research group website, you'll notice that we've actually been focusing on a broad number of areas as it relates to user issues, technical inclined issues. This publication, for instance, is more to do with application of AI and machine learning to automatically organize scholarly research output. And then more obscure topics that are related to metadata, for instance. However, if you want to have a sense of what sort of publications we've done, you can go to our research group website, datalab.unza.zm, and on the website, you can actually filter publications based on these three core research areas that I highlighted. Now, before I dive into the OJS instance at the UNZA, I think it's important to give you an idea of what the UNZA is all about. It turns out that the UNZA was established back in 1965. This was a year after we attained independence. And it's the oldest and largest higher learning institution in Zambia, higher education institution. We presently have a total of 13 schools and over 27,000 students. Now, the statistics on students and academic staff are based on our 2023 to 2027 strategic plan. It's a bit outdated here because it was published back in, or at least work on the strategic plan was initiated back in 2022. So we likely, not likely actually, we actually have slightly more students and faculty staff. But as of 2022, we had a total of 885 faculty staff. These are, teaching and research staff, really, people like myself. And I believe last time I checked, it was close to about 2,000, I believe, support staff. So it's quite a large institution. And what's particularly interesting about the UNZA, really, at least as it relates to scholarly research publications, is that as of, is it 2017, 2017, or is it 2018, the academic promotions criteria was actually revised. And it was revised in such a way that the focus now is on what's called the point-based system, which covers crucial areas such as community engagement, consultancy, teaching, and more importantly, research. Now, what's particularly interesting about the research component is that there's an emphasis on the quality of publications. And so before you are promoted, they'll look at the H-index score, for instance. Now, the interesting thing about the revision of the promotion criteria is it actually resulted in the increase in the number of journals that are affiliated with the UNZA. Okay. However, right, prior to 2019, all the University of Zambia affiliated journals were actually print-based. So there was a need that was identified to actually set up an online platform that would facilitate the gradual transition from this print-based publication model to an online publication model. In addition, when this project was initiated in 2019, the focus was really on 3 journals that are associated with Directorate of Research, Innovation and Development. Now, this is important because it turns out that the journals that are associated with DRID are actually funded. So there's some funding that is associated with these journals, making it somewhat easier for us to maybe explore, diamond access publishing platforms, for instance. One would argue that convincing, editors or editorial teams that really don't have funding from the universities, somewhat an uphill battle here. Mostly, really, I think it's an issue of awareness. But so what happened after the online platform was established in 2019 is there were a number of activities actually that were initiated. What was initiated at the onset was the training of editorial members for the 3 journals. So there's if you go to the University of Zambia, online journal platform, there's the Journal of Agriculture and Biomedical Sciences. There's also the Journal of Law and Social Sciences, and then finally there's the Journal of Natural and Applied Sciences. So these were the 3 journals really that benefited from this training. In addition, because there was a backlog, okay, of paper-based, journal issues, there was a project that was initiated for us to digitize these historical issues. So in the year 2020, we spent most of that year actually digitizing and then uploading this content on the online journal platform. Okay, I'm happy to say that insofar as these 3 journals are concerned, the digitization process was finalized, and I would say we are almost, I would say maybe 90% online. And I'll explain why I'm making an educated guess that we only managed to transition online to a 90% sort of threshold here. So I mentioned that there's a total of 15 journals that are currently hosted on this online journal platform. And in case you are interested in finding out more about the journal platform, I will ask that maybe you find time and go to journals.unza.zm. I should probably just make mention of the fact that in my capacity as a technical advisor for DRID, as recently as is it December, I was conducting a training session on how to use OJS by the editorial team that's behind a newly established journal. It's the Journal of Research in Nursing, Midwifery, and Health Sciences. Okay. Now, in terms of the challenges, what I decided to do was to maybe categorize or cluster these challenges into 3 main clusters. So I'll start off by mentioning this issue of online visibility, at least as it relates to our OJS instance. The reason why this is an important issue for the University of Zambia is it turns out that a number of activities that are performed as they relate to, let's say, promoting academic members of staff, for instance, and gauging the overall performance of the university require that we look up content online. Interestingly enough, the tool that was adopted is a publish or perish platform. So typically, use publish or perish to extract statistics associated with journals, for instance, and also members of staff affiliated with the University of Zambia. Okay. In addition, over the last couple of years, I want to say there's been an increasing interest in the overall global and continental ranking for the University of Zambia. The snapshot is a bit odd here. I would like to think that our ranking has slightly improved here, but it turns out that if you look at, irrespective of the ranking body that you opt to use, you discover that the online visibility of scholarly research output produced by a university is actually crucial factor that is taken into account. What is interesting in terms of challenges for us is that if you just do a simple focus search on Google Scholar, what you begin to realize is that our OJS platform is not properly configured here, or rather content in the OJS platform is not properly indexed. Okay, so there have been times when we've done focus searches that are associated with the UNZA. What you notice in this particular screenshot is that if you were to do a focus search for the UNZA, you have about 5,740 documents. Right now, we all know how Google Scholar works here. There's quite a bit of this content that is gray literature, right? So it could be technical reports, for instance, and in fact even perhaps just general reports that are published by the UNZA. However, if you do a focus search to try and see how much of the content on the OJS platform are actually indexed, in this particular case, I'm doing a focus search on the journals.unza.zm platform, you begin to realize that there's a bit of a problem here. And for the naysayers, maybe what I will do is perhaps just quickly refresh this focus search. So what I'm doing here is I'm searching through the journal platform, and you notice that only about 49 results, right, supposedly indexed in the OJS platform. Now, what we've discovered, because I have an interest in this, I mean, I've had undergraduate students work on this problem. What we've noticed is there are a number of issues here. For one, search engine optimization is neglected. This is by CICT, or perhaps because there's nobody who is actually tasked to oversee this process. But more interestingly, it turns out that the way server infrastructure is set up at the UNZA is there's visualization, right, implemented. And so there is content. So if I was to just do a search, right, on the UNZA domain, and then exclude, because what we've discovered is out of the 7,000 objects, a lot of this content is actually coming from the repository. So if I exclude content coming from the repository, you notice that the content that is coming from the OJS platform somewhat increases from somewhere around 40, if you noticed, to about 700, right? So what we realize is that there's malconfiguration or misconfiguration as it relates to these subdomains. So you notice here that some of the content that is supposed to be coming from the OJS platform, is actually hosted on the OJS platform, is identified as coming from the vet.unza.zm domain, from the education.unza.zm domain. So this is just a configuration issue, really. So those are some of the challenges. In addition to so these are the challenges as they relate to indexing of content. In addition, there's a bit of an issue here associated with syndication of content. Now we all know that the vast majority of time, users that are looking for content will likely find content by using academic databases, or in some instances aggregate services, right? So maybe they'll find themselves on the African Journals online platform and try and see if they can find journals that are associated with Zambia. However, in our case, none of the 15 journals at the UNZA syndicate content to the African Journals online platform. If we look at more of these bigger aggregate services, like the director of open access journals, for instance, you realize that there's no content from Zambia as well. Now, towards the end, I may gloss over the fact that using the funding from EIFL, we have a plan, a systematic plan on how we can address this. And our plan heavily relies on human capital. So we hypothesize that establishing a dedicated editorial team that would be responsible for the 15 journals will make it possible for us to overcome most of these challenges, okay? And then in terms of challenge number 2, this is really mostly associated with routine administration. This is technical administration, and especially administration of the platform as it relates to just general daily or perhaps weekly operation and maintenance activities. there have been a number of cases where potential authors will actually reach out to chief editors to say the journal platform is not working. And most instances, it's a case of maybe the storage of the server infrastructure where the OJS platform is installed running out, for instance. So storage space running out. In some instances, it's trivial issues like the email address that is used to automatically send email notifications having its password expired, for instance. Again, our argument really is that setting up a dedicated team of technical people who will be able to oversee these admin-centric issues will potentially address these challenges. There is more though, and one would argue that there's a simpler solution for this. Because we're using an older version of OJS, we are unable to install a plugin that automatically deposits metadata or DOIs, or automatically enables us to register DOIs with Crossref. And so what we have to do is take advantage of the manual option, which really leverages or enables us to use the web deposit form to manually upload metadata. So every time there's an issue of a volume that has been published, for now, the three or the chief editors usually of these journals would have to go through the growing process of manually compiling metadata and uploading this metadata using the web deposit form. Okay, I mean, it's a trivial process for the journal I'm associated with, which is the Journal of Law and Social Sciences, because whilst I'm a member of the editorial team there, but my role is mostly technical, and I always joke to people that I think I was invited to be a part of the editorial team, not because of my expertise, because I'm not a social scientist, but because of my my technical skill set, really. Okay, so it's a trivial process for me. It's an exercise that takes me less than 30 minutes really to do. But really, I've had conversations with a number of chief editors or editorial teams that have raised an issue associated with depositing content via the web deposit form. The other issue really is associated with metadata management. Now, it turns out that currently at the UNZA, what most of these journals will do is supply just the bare minimum information that will make it possible for an article to be published, right? And that's because they don't fully appreciate the importance of ensuring that the metadata you're associating to an article is comprehensive. Okay, and a classic example here, journal issues which will probably have one author as opposed to, is it three or four of the authors that are associated with an article. There have been instances where important metadata like I want to give an example of ORCID numbers, for instance, are not specified or supplied, in part because the way the platform is configured is autonomy is left onto the respective journals to specify what sort of information they would identify as being crucial or important. Now, just briefly, maybe to summarize challenge number 2 here, it turns out that we have a directorate called the Center for Information and Communication Technologies. However, their role is restricted to handling just what I want to call surface level operation and maintenance. So anything to do with installation or upgrade of software, and to some extent security issues as they relate to the server infrastructure. However, if you think about OJS, you begin to realize that there are more important issues, day-to-day issues that have to be addressed. So indexing issues and search engine optimization, ensuring that the OII PMH interfaces are working optimally, just in case there are entities out there or aggregate services that are automatically harvesting content. And of course, issues such as configuration of plugins that may be useful. And then in terms of the last challenge here, and I made a mistake, it shouldn't really be administration and operational maintenance, but it should have been OJS workflow management. Now, the interesting thing about the UNZA here is that editorial teams have a lifespan. Okay, if memory serves me right, there's a new editorial team that is put in place every after 5 years or something. It could be 4 years. The problem with that is typically what ends up happening is the new people, some of the people that will join the team will not have expertise using OJS. A classic example I'm using here is Jonas. So this was an email that was sent through a few weeks ago by the chief editor for Jonas. And she was trying to hint at the fact that she had a bit of challenges getting started using the system itself. Okay, coupled with that, right? If you think about the overall workflow-centric activities, I think they're best viewed really from the perspective of the various stages in OJS. So submission, review, copy editing, and production. What we've realized is that there are a broad spectrum of challenges, especially as they relate to specific journals. I'll give an example of JLSS, which I'm associated with. Currently, the chief editor is the one who is tasked to oversee the whole process of the desk review process. So his role is to log into the system and make sure that new articles that are submitted, perhaps aligned with the template, check for things like the length of the publication. And however, the issue with that process is that it puts a lot of burden on the chief editor, right? So quite a number of issues there. Review is the same. The review process would typically require that whoever is running with the article constantly reach out to the reviewers to remind them if the deadline is passed, for instance. Again, we've seen an issue, a challenge associated with this particular activity being neglected because it's rarely the case that editorial team members will actually log in and perform these tasks. All right. We think that an editorial team or instituting an editorial team, support team would make it possible for some of these issues to be addressed. In terms of copy editing, I'm not really sure if this is something I would say is an OJS issue, in part because the way our setup is such that our university press is actually incorporated into the overall process to help with typesetting. Now, ideally, part of their role is supposed to involve copy editing, but currently, because they're understaffed, we have a situation where there's virtually no copy editing that is performed, right? If there's any, it's usually at the final stage where the chief editor will just, come in and reach out to the authors and ask that they suggest changes to the final article that will be published here. Again, our thinking is that establishing an editorial team, which would comprise of editorial support assistants, would make it possible for us to make sure that this process is rigorous. Another challenge is that currently UNZA Press is integrated into this workflow manually. So once we get to stage number 3, the chief editor downloads the articles, emails them to UNZA Press, they typeset them, they send them back, and then the chief editor will log onto the system and upload these articles. And then in terms of production, one of the many challenges that we have really is issues that happen as you are about to publish or once the article is published. So things like indexing of content, syndication of content, and indeed making sure that metadata is appropriately specified. I know that was quite a very fast way of going through some of these challenges, but it turns out that we are hopeful. If you look at our proposal for the EIFL funded project, which is strengthening, no-fee open access journals at the University of Zambia, you begin to realize that there are a number of these issues are actually going to be addressed, or at least we're planning to address these issues. At a bare minimum, our goal is to demonstrate to management that establishment of an editorial team, a dedicated editorial team at the University of Zambia will be to the benefit of the university, really. I did not include a slide here, but our solution leverages on already existing approaches, in particular, what was mentioned by Milika, things like existing checklists, for instance. I'm not sure if any thoughts or questions, but this is what I had for you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Lighton, so much. Currently, we don't have any questions. You can add questions in the Q&A. You can also raise your hand if you wish. I can only say that we will try to reuse in the best possible way all the use cases and all the experiences, and we will update the checklist with such solutions that you create during your project. And it's very interesting because some of the projects that were covered in your presentation are some of the most commonly mentioned problems, like, for example, indexing in Google Scholar. And Irina and I shared some links with recommendations how to do this and how to improve this indexing. And also, it's very interesting that it's usually mentioned during webinars, this copy editing step is usually done manually. And it seems that the reasons for this, at least as I can see, are mostly cultural, because institutions already have some established workflows, and then they don't want to integrate them into OJS. It seems difficult to them, but it's usually skipped, and they are not using the benefits of OJS. Do we have any questions at the moment? You can add questions, and we will have some time for discussion later if you don't have any immediate questions. And then if you don't, we can go to the second presentation. It's more specific, and it's related to a very useful tool that you will learn about. And our presenter is Ljiljana Jertec Musap, and she works as a project lead at the University of Zagreb Computing Center, which is SRCE, which means heart in Croatian. Very nice name for a center. And her work focuses on the planning, specification, development, user support, education for the National Repository Infrastructure, DABAR, which is very interesting, centralized national infrastructure, but also for the portal of Croatian scientific and professional journals, HRCEC. And she's also a national RDA coordinator for Croatia and contributes to the project Craft-OA that we mentioned during previous webinars, and we will be mentioning in the further webinars as well. And she's also an expert in data and digital asset management, such as storage, description, long-term preservation, etc. So Ljiljana, over to you.
Thank you, Melissa, and I would like to thank you and Irina for invitation to present and to have the opportunity to present this our new, relatively new service to the wider audience. My name is Ljiljana Jertec Musap. I live and work in Zagreb at the University Computing Center, and even though I will be delivering this presentation, it wouldn't be fair not to mention my two colleagues who are extremely important also for this story, and they are Dražen Koseljak and Ivan Jelenic. So here is a little overview of the presentation. So first I will introduce SRCE and HRCEC a little bit, then we will switch to JATS XML, and I will talk about its advantages, document structure, as well as challenges that we have been facing all these years. Then we will focus on the main topic of the presentation, that is JATS XML Converter Service, and I will present you live how the service works. If there will be time, and I think it is just 2-3 minutes demonstration. And then in the end, there will be a couple of words about sustainability and future plans for the service. So let's start with the story about SRCE. SRCE plays a crucial role in supporting research and higher education system on a national level in Croatia, not only for the University of Zagreb. It is a central infrastructure institution that plans, develops, and maintains infrastructure and digital services for the needs of academic and scientific community in Croatia. Service catalog of SRCE offers a wide range of services and resources, including advanced computing, digital repository and open access platforms, authentication and authorization infrastructure, comprehensive e-learning solutions, and many other relevant services for the community. One of the key areas of support that SRCE offers is support for open science, within which we facilitate the entire research data lifecycle. My department is responsible for the development and maintenance of 3 national systems, DABR, Hrčak, and PUH. And Hrčak will be the focus of my following slides. So Hrčak is the central portal for creation scientific and professional open access journals, and mostly they are Diamond open access journals. Hrčak is in production since 2006, so basically it's almost 20 years old. It provides a free user-friendly publishing platform for journal editors, which helps them to enhance visibility and consequently impact of their journals. Editors also benefit from advanced search and discovery functionalities, and they have access to journal statistics as well as article statistics. For authors and readers, Hrčak offers easy access to journals and articles, which makes research more discoverable. It also supports ORCID connections, which ensures proper author identification and credit, of course. And consequently, platform fosters collaboration between researchers and by connecting them. Hrčak plays a key role in supporting contemporary scientific publishing and ensures broad visibility and accessibility of journals. For instance, in 2024, Hrčak recorded over 90,000 average daily visits, which demonstrate its significance as a resource for researchers, for authors, and maybe as a platform for collaborations. Hrčak is carefully designed to be interoperable. It has OAI PMH interface as well as KBART interface, where it exposes metadata about journals and articles. And all that facilitates integration with not only European, but global indexing services. Additionally, Hrčak provides support for persistent identifiers, such as DOI, of course, and ORCIDs. And it also provides support for modern publishing formats, such as JATS XML, which then improves discoverability and structured representation of the content of the articles. Just a second. Of the articles. We also strongly promote and recommend the usage of Creative Commons licenses. And to sum it all in a whole package, we provide educational support for editors and publishers, where we help them understand best practices and solutions in scientific publishing. We strive to maintain content quality also through defined inclusion criteria, which can be categorized into 3 main categories: open access requirement, connection to Croatia, and some defined technical criteria. Hrčak provides support not only for publishment of final papers, but also support for editorial processes that come before the publishment. So we provide support for OJS and OMP, Open Monograph Press. Our journey with OJS began back in 2008, but and it was launched in 2008, but it wasn't until 2019 that we started providing dedicated user support. So now we offer webinars, workshops, etc. for users to help them navigate through the system. So far, over 70 journals have been opened on Herceg OJS, with about 50 of them active that are actually using the OJS. There are more than 1,100 issues published on Herceg OJS and more than 10,000 articles. Then in 2022, we took another step forward with a launch of Open Monograph Press. This was designed specifically for full text conference proceedings. And in a short time, we have created 13 presses, and there is 19 proceedings published at the moment on Herceg OMP. So through OMP, we have been able to ensure that conference content reaches a wider audience as well, not only journals and articles. Now let's focus on JATS XML and its advantages. JATS XML is short for General Article Tag Suite. It's a set of elements and attributes designed specifically for tagging journal articles. Even though it's more technical to create, it makes a lot of difference when it comes to how academic content is shared, discovered, and in the end understood. First, JATS XML is all about enhancing metadata. By tagging journal articles with precise elements and defined attributes, we unlock a new level of semantic understanding. It improves how articles are indexed, categorized, how they are discovered by other services and by other people, other researchers as well. It's not just about having content out there somewhere online. It's about making it easier to find and understand. Key advantage of JATS XML is that it is open standard and machine readable format. And this means that it is convenient for automated indexing, for instance, for AI tools, which can now process and understand the content that we are publishing more effectively. It's like giving machines the tools to organize and navigate through vast amounts of scholarly content, making them smarter and more organized in how they search and categorize published articles. JATS XML also increases findability and visibility of articles by structuring the content in a way that it's optimized for search engines. It helps the articles to rise to the top, which ensures more eyes on the work, then consequently more collaborations, more citations. Another significant benefit is how it facilitates easier distribution across different platforms. So whether the article is hosted on publisher site or digital repository, standardized format means that it can be shared and accessed without or with just a few hiccups. Finally, it's worth to mention that JATS is independent of text processing software, which means that you don't need any specific software or tool to view and use the content. Here on this slide, you can see visual representation of the structure of JATS XML. The blue one on the left side is a grid view. The one below is a basic XML document. And the third one is a visual representation. where you can see that article includes three main parts of the article. So front part, body part, and back part. Front part is includes journal and article metadata. Body part includes all body of the article, text and all other elements. And the back part includes primarily reference list, but also acknowledgements and all other appendices. It looks very understandable and not so. But to achieve that document that is structured in this way, it's not very easy, and it is quite challenging. The journey of Jertec's JATS XML support began in 2017 through OpenAir 2020 project, which funded technical enhancements for open access platforms without APC. As a part of this enhancement, Jertec implemented functionality to publish JATS XML alongside PDFs. That enabled content mining and improved article discoverability. The process of implementation had two phases. First was the research phase, where we analyzed the standard and the best practices because we basically didn't know anything about it. We studied existing use cases, interviewed the service providers which were effective at that moment, and we tried to strive to find available tools to identify the most effective solutions which then we could offer to our editors. The second phase was implementation phase. And in that phase, a structured workflow was designed, which then enabled editors to publish previously created JATS XML files directly into Jertec. This feature was integrated into the interface of Jertec, and that then, at the moment, aligned Jertec with contemporary publishing standards a little bit more. At the time, responsibility for creating JATS for journal articles was explicitly on editors and publishers of journals, because we didn't have a solution for that process. Implementing JATS in Jertec has been a complex process, but creating JATS and publishing it gave another level of complexity to it, and it was primarily due to limited editorial resources in terms of time, in terms of funding, in terms of personnel. But the biggest challenge for the editors was to find comprehensive, possibly free tool to create JATS. To address this, we took several steps. We created guidelines for editors in Croatian, though, but additionally, we held over 20 educations, workshops. We created tutorials, which are online consultations, by which we wanted to train editors and technical staff behind the process of creation. We have results. More than 50 journals on Jertec at the moment publish JATS XML, which significantly improves metadata quality and interoperability. Editors have independently created and successfully published more than 4,500 JATS files on Jertec. And even though it is a nice number compared to a number of full text articles on Jertec in general, it is, there is still a lot of work to do. So in 2023, so 5 years later, Jertec introduced automated conversion features for JATS. but that features were completely and fully integrated into Hrčak administrative interface, which means that they were exclusively available for Croatian journals that publish in Hrčak. The technology behind automated conversion is based on PANDOC, Universal Document Converter, which demonstrated the most precise results among open source converters in our tests. Additionally, for parsing references, service relies on AnyStyle, which is also open source software. But in 2024, SRCE decided to extend the technical solution developed just primarily for Hrčak to a broader range of journals, to a wider audience. So all previously mentioned components were integrated and managed within the Laravel PHP framework. And all that led to a new service within Hrčak, and that is the JATS XML Converter Service. Here you can see first landing page of the converter service, and now a couple of words about it specifically. Converter service was launched in July 2024 as a free online service for converting full text docx files to structured JATS XML format. It is primarily intended for journal editors of open access scientific journals and professional journals as well, but it is also available to researchers and academics. There is no formal request process to use the service, but it's mandatory to authenticate using Edugain account. Edugain is a global academic identity system. And here is a link on the presentation with a list of partners. So here editors can find their service provider in their country, and if there are any issues with logging into our service, they can contact them directly. Contact them directly. Currently, service has been used by 45 users from 29 journals, so also we have some results here. Oh, and now I will demonstrate if we have time. Here is okay, so here is the interface of JATS XML Converter Service. First, it is mandatory to log in using Edugain account, as was said, what was said in the slides before, and then simply we click on Start Now. If there is no journal already created in the system, in the service, the service will ask you to enter metadata about the journal as the first step. I have already done that, not to lose time now. So I have created the journal and clicked Save, and now I can see that I have some dummy journal of open science here. Then we can add article to journal here, or we can just go to articles, create article, and choose which journal we want to add article to. So I will go to this created journal of open science, and below we can see that there is already created one article. The process of creating an article is the same as creating a journal. It is mandatory to enter title of article and the date of publishment. Other options are recommended but not mandatory. and then we save that article and can proceed with the process. This is mandatory because metadata about the article are necessary for creation of front part of the XML document. And then we go to this tab, JATS XML, which asks us to upload a docx file, which will then be converted into XML. I have prepared this one article, and I will upload it here. When I click upload and create, the process takes about a couple of seconds, and we can see that here we have created a whole XML document, which has this front part, which is red, and that means that it's not editable here. I cannot change anything here in the front part, but if I want to change that, I have to go to the steps before, because it is the journal metadata which were entered before and article metadata which were also entered, so we have to change that there. There's also a body part of the article, so which is the full text of the article, and in the end we have a back part with reference list. We can download that XML and use it however we want or need to use, and we can preview how it will look like on the interface. So my article looks like this, and that is basically the whole process and the whole demonstration, because all other demonstrations would go the same way. So that was the demonstration, and a couple of words about our future plans is sustainability. In summer 2024, so last year, we conducted internal testing of the service, where student intern at SRCE tested the conversion of 250 docx files. The results showed that around 16% of the files were successfully converted without any edits required. The majority, 58% of files, required minor edits, which means that edits take about 15 minutes or less. However, 26% of the files required extensive edits, 15 minutes or more. So while the service has proven effective, it's clear that improvements are necessary, particularly in reference recognition, because we want to reduce the manual intervention as much as possible. Looking to the future, there are wishes for further enhancements to the service, of course. For instance, we would like to expose of an API for broader integration with other systems. And also we see an opportunity to integrate the service with OJS to streamline workflows for journals who are using OJS. But future developments depend on available resources, which are currently very limited. We welcome editors to try the tool. It is in production, it is online, and can be used. Editors can test it for their purposes, for their journals, and if any of problems occur or happen, they can contact us. For those who want to know more, you can explore these resources for detailed insights, tutorials. We have a video tutorial published, and maybe for future collaboration opportunities. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, Ljiljana, very much. Very interesting presentation. We will share the presentations and the videos as a resource on the, and you will be informed, all the registered participants will be informed, so you will be able to check all those links. So you can see that those tools are, the tool is free. If you have access to Edugain, you can try it immediately. If you don't, there are a number of countries that are negotiating their membership in Edugain, and we can hope that a greater number of countries will be included. And also, as we can see in both cases, in Zambia and Croatia as well, projects play a very important role in the development of tools and the improvement of platforms, and that's how the community also benefits. So let's hope that there will be more projects that will contribute to the development of this tool that is actually very beneficial and very useful for editors and journal managers all over the world. Do we have any questions? So we didn't have anything in Q&A. We don't have anything at the moment, so you can raise your hand if you wish. I have a question for both of you while we're waiting other questions. So
4 minutes left in this session.
Okay, 4 minutes. Let's try to make it in 4 minutes. IT support is very important it's very important for the development of those tools. How do you manage resources? How do you find IT people? How do you train them? If you can say anything in 4 minutes or just give us some hints. Both Lighton and Ljiljana, whoever wants to start.
So, I mean, I can start. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
Yes.
please go.
Yeah, so I can start. I mean, we are fortunate, right? So the University of Zambia is quite a large institution. We have a dedicated directorate which has departments. So there's a software development team, there's a systems, I think systems support team it's called or something. So at infrastructure level, we really don't have a problem. The challenge, however, is with administration of the platforms, so as it relates to the content itself. And in fact, seeing as it's been a struggle and it's one of the challenges I highlighted, a solution is you're establishing a completely new unit that is going to be responsible for that. And what we've been doing, we're actually going through a hiring process of 2 editorial support assistants, and we are specifically looking for candidates with particular skill set and experience. Technical expertise is one of them. So we look at things like experience working with specific types of operating systems. Experience with OJS happens to be a problem, so we've cast our net wide to just look at experience with just general content management systems and information retrieval. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot. You still have 2 minutes more.
Okay, I have 2 minutes. Okay. SRCE is information technology provider for science and academic community in Croatia. So we have long-term expertise and experience in providing services, solutions for faculties, for higher education institutions. Of course, finding new people is very, very challenging. Sometimes it seems it's almost impossible, but still we have basically everything we need to develop and to maintain service such as JATS XML here in our institution. So, yeah, it would be great if the team was a little bit bigger. That would be brilliant, but we manage with these resources we have.
Thank you so much. So we still have 1 minute to say goodbye and wrap up. You will be sent the resources, and we will announce the next webinar in approximately 1 month. And yeah, just keep an eye on the EIFL website and you will find the information here.
Thank you so much, Lighton, Ljiljana, Milica, for organizing this webinar, and thanks a lot for attending, and apologies for the technical glitch. Have a good day and a good week.